is Gina. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make these pretty little sparkle flower bracelets, and I will be showing you with the newest treasure bags. It is the Flowers and Shells collection, sophisticated and demure, I couldn't say it. And then we still have a few sophisticated bags left. I don't know how long they'll last. The demure is completely gone, but I think there's I don't know, maybe 10, 15 of these left. So if you want one, come check out the video. At the time of recording, we still have some, but that may change by the time we get this edited and up. So this is what these look like. Let me take this off and show you what it looks like. And lay them out, kind of pretty. They would get all weird after you take them off your wrist there. Doesn't want to cooperate. And then I'm going to put this one out. Now, with these, you can adjust your length on the end. I made this one a little bit longer than this one because this one was a little bit too big. So you can just adjust your length on the ends here. And you can also use some gold seed beads if you want. I used the seed beads that were in the bag, so it turns out really pretty. And if you do not have a treasure bag, I think I may have some of these flowers left. I'm not positive, so I will check and get those listed if I do. And I'll post a link. So that's what these look like. Turn out really, really, really pretty. Let me get you close, and let's go ahead and look and see what it takes to make this particular project. Okay, for this project today, we will be using some of the things from the newest treasure bags, the Shells and Flowers, or Flowers and Shells collection. So we have demure and we have sophisticated, and I'm going to show you what we're going to use in either bag. So it's same stuff, just different colors. So what we're going to use are the strands that you have of the 6mm English cut or star cut strand. So in the sophisticated, it's this gray strand, and in the demure, it's this bisque color strand. We will be using some of the seed beads that are in the bag, so either your beige color or your silver lined gray. And then we are going to be using what's left of these little flower beads. Now in a previous tutorial I used one of them. You have 6 in your bag, so we're going to be using 5. You have the creamy white or the black. We'll be using one of the clasps from the bag, and we'll be using about 12 size 2 Beadalon crimp tubes. We're also going to be using some 49 strand Beadalon. Now you want to make sure that this is the finer diameter. So this one is 0 or 0.018 inch or 0.46 millimeter. So it's important that you have the fine diameter. It can be 49 strand, but they come in different diameters. The amount of strands just helps with the flexibility. So this one is a pretty fine one, and you can use some other fine beading wire if you want, but I prefer this one. It comes in this pretty satin gold color, and this is the one we're going to be using. And they have it in a bigger diameter, so the diameter is important for this. And you can get this at any major beading outlet, or you can get it on Amazon. I bought mine on Amazon from Beadalon. Okay, so that's what we're going to be using. Let's get started. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is cut 2 equal pieces of beading wire, 14 inches long. I know that seems excessive for a bracelet. However, we're going to be weaving with this, so we want to make sure we have plenty. Now, what you're going to do once you've cut your wire is you're going to put the ends together flush, And then you're going to grab one of your crimp tubes and put it on both wires. Let me get you close so you can see. And then I'm just going to kind of draw it to the middle. I'm going to put both ends together, make sure they're flush on both sides like this, and then hold all four of them together, all four ends, and push them all together so that they're nice and even. Then pull this crimp tube to the center. We're going to be working from the center out. Let me back off a little. So I'm going to put this somewhere in the center. Now that I have it in the center, I'm going to move it just slightly to one side. So about 4 or 5 millimeters over. And then I'm going to grab my crimping tool, and in the second divot, the one closest to the handle, I'm going to make sure my two wires are lying next to each other and not twisted on top of each other. And I'm just going to put this in my crimping tool, and I'm going to squeeze in that second divot. Now, you can see that I have both of my wires next to each other. Now I am going to take my crimping tool, and I am going to go into the first divot, the one closest to the tip of the tool, and I'm going to squeeze again. And this is what I have, just like this. Now, the side that you pushed over, so you'll see that you're off center now, on your wires, the side that you pushed over should be on your left side, and from your right side, you're going to pick up one of your flower beads and slide it on. And just kind of make sure that you don't twist your wires, and then grab the end of the wires again. Well, if I can. And I'm going to push them together and grab a crimp tube and slide it down all the way to the flower. Straighten out my wires, make sure they're not crossed. Push your flower all the way over to the other crimp tube, because you want these crimp tubes to hold the flower steady. Then from the back side, you're going to grab your crimping tool, and you can just go up on the back of the flower, get as close to the flower as you can, get that bead centered in your crimping tool in the second divot, pull on the wire, push on the crimp tube against the flower, and then squeeze again, so that you have a really nice tight crimp on both sides. And then we're going to just flip it over, or you can do it from the back too, and squeeze it again in the first divot. So now I have a flower anchored right there. And we're going to work one side of the bracelet, then we'll work the other side of the bracelet. And it doesn't matter if you're slightly off center at this point, you just want it to be pretty close to center, so you have about the same amount of wire to work with on both sides. Then you're going to pick up onto your wire on one side, pick up one of your 6 millimeter round beads and drop it down. And then on the other wire, pick up another 6 millimeter round and drop it down. Now it's going to twist and turn and do all kinds of weird stuff for a little bit until we get this established. And then we're going to pick up another 6 millimeter round, and we're going to go through it with one wire on one side, and then we're going to go through it on the opposite side with the other wire. So you're crossing your wires through the bead like this. Then you're just going to pull both wires, the short side, and pull this down. Now, I'm going to get you close because this doesn't lay perfect. So you have to kind of establish this by pulling on both wires, pull them forward until it lays pretty nicely like this. I'll show you what it looks like. Just like that. You will see some wire on either side. That's part of the beauty of this bracelet. And then we are going to pick up, once we have that established and arranged, we're going to pick up another bead on both wires. I had too much coffee this morning. My hands are kind of shaky. Oops. Okay, so now we've got those two on either side. We're going to put our wires together again on the ends. And slide another crimp tube down. And if you can't get them both at the same time, you can just pick it up on one wire, hold on to it like this, let me back off a little, and then take the other wire and put it straight through. So you want this to come down, straight down. You don't want it crossed. You want both wires going through the same way, just like this. So you're just sliding that tube down both wires. Then rearrange your wires so that they're next to each other and push that crimp tube down, pull on both wires, and arrange it so it's really pretty like this. Then we're going to grab, I just kind of wrap it around my finger so I can hold on to it. We're going to grab our crimping tool and pull on that. Make sure both sides are even so that it's centered, and squeeze it again like this. Then you can turn it over and put it sideways in the crimping tool in the first divot and squeeze it again. And that is what that looks like. Then, once you have that crimp tube on and it's secure, you're going to grab another flower. I don't like that one. I'll get another one. And I'm going to slide this down. And I'm going to turn so that my flower is up like the other one. Put my wires back together, and the ends of them might get a little uneven, and you can pull it straight and you can trim that so it goes through your beads a little easier if you need to. Just slightly. You don't want to trim a lot of that off. You need this wire. Then I am going to push the crimp tube over both wires, slide it down, straighten them out, make sure they're lying next to each other and not on top of each other. Then I will turn my piece over, grab my crimping tool, place it in the crimp tube in the second divot closest to the handle again, and push on that flower and pull on my wires and squeeze. And you can see what I have. Now I'll put it in the first divot, arrange it, make sure those two little tubes that you created with your first crimp are touching the sides of the tool, and then squeeze again. So we're going to do, we have 5, so this is going to be our center point. We're going to do another section of beads, and then we will put 3 on one side and 2 on the other, just because we have 5. So we're going to make sure that this one becomes the center by having 2 on either side, see? So we're going to do 1 more on this side, and we're going to do a section of our little 6mm round beads. So I know that was confusing, but we've done 1 section of crystal. We're going to do 1 flower, 1 section of crystal. Okay? And put a crystal on either side of the wire, or 1 crystal on both wires. How's that? and then pick up a crystal and go through this crystal on both sides. So I've dropped it down, and then I'm just going to come through the top and go back through this crystal, crossing my wires in the crystal. And then I can just pull on both wires and straighten it out. Make sure they're laying next to each other nice. The facets on these beads will kind of mess with you. Make sure your little flowers stay as upright as you can get them, and pull that into a really nice arrangement, just like that. Then you're going to pick up another one on both sides here. Okay, then you're going to put your ends together. And you're going to slide another flower on. Both of the wires. Well, no, you're not. You're going to do a crimp tube first. Sorry about that, guys. So put your 2 beads on and then grab a crimp tube. Sorry about that. Got ahead of myself. And slide this crimp tube down. Arrange your wires so that they are next to each other and not crossed. Push that down. Make sure that you get it as close to those beads as you can, like this. And I'm going to get in just a little closer so you can see, just like that. And then I'm going to grab my crimping tool, place it in that second divot closest to the handle. Make sure I'm not crossed. Am I crossed? I don't think so. Maybe I am. Let me look again. Yeah. Okay. So now I can grab a hold of this, grab the crimp tube, push the crimp tube back. You can adjust your wires a little if you want. Make sure that that's centered between those 2 beads, and then squeeze. And now I have a nice little crimp. And I can go on the back side, or however you want to place it in there. Place it sideways, and in the first divot, squeeze it again. Okay, I'm going to do it this way. Yeah, that worked. Trying to keep your crimp centered between those 2 beads is the main issue. Sometimes it'll get a little off center. As long as it's not terribly off center, you should be okay. And then we're going to slide another flower down. Both of our wires. Oh, well, it helps if you put it in the right spot, huh? Turn this over. And here, I'm going to put another crimp tube, and then I'll work the other side of the bracelet. Then we'll do the ends of the bracelet. So I'm just going to grab my crimp tube, keeping my wires together, put both of them in the crimp tube, and slide this down to the flower. Make sure you position your flower and turn it over. Straighten out your wires. so that they're lying next to each other. Then grab your crimp tool on the back of the flower, push that tube up against the flower and pull on your 2 wires just like this and squeeze. Then turn it over, or you can do it from the back too. Sometimes it's just easier to do it from the back. It depends on how you can position your hands. Now position it sideways in that first divot and squeeze it again. Like that. You can see how I got slightly off center on that one, which is not good, but it's not terrible either. Then I'm going to turn my bracelet around and work on the other side and do the exact same thing. So we already have a crimp tube here, so we're just going to do our crystal. We're going to pick up a 6mm round on both wires, and I'm going to back off so I stay in camera here. And then we're going to pick up an individual on both wires. So I've slid one wire through one side, then on the opposite side I slide the wire through so that it is crossing the wires through the bead, and you pull this down. Ignore the background noise, we're packing up some orders today. Okay, so now I have my first half. The second half, we will put 2 beads on. Arrange it nicely, and then grab a crimp tube. Pull that crimp tube down and untwist your wires. Make them lay next to each other, just like that, and then try to center it the best you can, like this. Then I'm going to grab my crimping tool and push that down a little bit with my crimping tool and squeeze in the second divot. Turn it over, place it sideways in my crimping tool, and squeeze again. Just like that. Now, this is repetitious, so you're going to continue on this side, putting on this flower, put your crimp tube on, do another crystal section, put your flower on, put your crimp tube on, and we'll be right back. Okay, so now all 5 of my flowers are on. I've crimped the last 2 off to make sure that everything's secure. And then I'm going to pick up my pieces and I'm going to separate these 2 strands. And I'm just going to flush cut one of them off. So find the one that seems like it's going to be most centered and cut the other one off by pushing your flush cutters very close to that crimp tube and just chop that off. Make sure your crimp is secure before you do that. And then do it on the other side also. Find the wire that seems like it's the most centered and cut the other one off. Very close to your crimping tool. Just like that. Now we're going to bead a single wire and put our clasping on. So what we're going to do is we're going to drop down an 8/0 seed bead and then a crystal, and you can make your bracelet longer or shorter with this ending. So if you're very small, you may only need one crystal with 2 seed beads on either side. You may need 2 crystals with 2 seed beads on either side, or 3 crystals, however you need to do that. You can measure what you've got here and then figure out how many beads you need to put on the end to make your length. I am going to put on 2 crystals and 2 seed beads on the very end here, just to make my length. I did this one with 3 crystals and it's just a little bit long for me. So instead of putting this 3rd crystal on, I'm going to put on 2 seed beads to make sure I don't make it too short. That should give me the little extra bit of length I need and also take away some of the length I don't need. So now I have my ending the way I want it. And what I'm going to do is, oops, sorry about that, messed with my light and messed it up. Now I'm going to grab a crimp tube and drop it down. Then I'm going to grab my clasp and put the wire through the loop. Then I'm going to slide this wire through the crimp tube and the 280 seed beads beneath it and the 1st crystal, if I can get it through all 3, just like that. Then I'll grab a hold of my clasp and pull this down. Then I will make sure that my beads are all slid together very well. I'm going to pull this as tightly as I can, leaving no gap or no loop here. We will adjust that in a moment. I'm just going to get it as tight as I can. You can push your crimp tube down and keep pushing until you don't have a gap at all in between the beads, just like this. Okay? Then you're going to take your flush cutter and you're going to cut directly under that bead as close as you can. Then you're going to gently push this crimp tube down, allowing a loop for movement here and pulling that very end of the wire up into this bead and hiding it. Now gently pick it up, find the center of the crimp tube and kind of envision where the 2 wires run down into it. Place it centered between those 2 wires in the 2nd divot and squeeze. And then go into the 1st divot. Place it sideways, the crimp tube, into the tool sideways in the 1st divot and squeeze it again. And there you have it. Then we'll do the other side exactly the same way, putting on your other side of your clasping, and we'll be back. Okay, so I have finished my clasping and you can see this did give me a little less length. I could have even gone without putting that extra seed bead there. This one is about 7 3/4. This one is about 7 1/2 inches. And I could have had it even a little bit smaller, but it works fine. And that'll give you an idea. If you want to just put 1 bead with a seed bead on either side, you can do that too. That'll make it a little smaller. But also what I'm finding is making a difference with this is the fact that I pulled the beads on this one in between a little tighter than I pulled these. So it's going to depend on how much slack you have as you're doing your units. So you can see these I pulled much tighter than I pulled these. So that's going to make a difference too. Now let me show you what you need to do to get a little flexibility here. Once you're finished, just kind of push these beads up, kind of make it a little rounder and get a little flexibility in it, especially on the ends. And then I'm going to go ahead and put this on and show you what it looks like. And I'll put on the other one so you can see it too. You can do whatever adjustments. If you need to practice your crimping with the flower beads on an extra double piece of wire a couple of times, and then make your bracelet, you can do that too. And I can't seem to get this clasp. For some reason, it's a toggle. That shouldn't be hard. But I just can't seem to get it. Come here. Okay, finally. Finally. Come on, go in there. All right. So see, it's still a little bit big, but not bad. And it looks really good on the wrist. And then this one is even a little bit bigger. I'll put it back here and see if I can get it on, and then I'll back off and show you what it looks like. My clasping is arguing with me today, and it just really shouldn't be that hard. There we go. Okay, let me back off and show you what it looks like. See, this one is quite a bit bigger, but that's okay. And that's what these look like. They turn out so pretty. It's just such a pretty thing. I love this black and gray. That's very fancy if you were wearing a little black suit or a black dress or something. So pretty. And this one is just, I mean, it's almost like bridal. It's really pretty. So anyway, that's how to make these bracelets. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I hope you'll give it a try. Bye-bye.